Hey guys, thanks for joining me here again today. My name is Kaylee and I'm so glad that you're here. I had another vision that I wanted to go ahead and share with you. This one I've been sitting on for a minute because I didn't really fully understand what it was that God was speaking about. And I still don't feel like I have complete understanding what it is, but I definitely feel like He's releasing me and saying like, this is the time to be able to share it. This is the time to release it, get it out into the atmosphere so that God can begin to work with it. So this is kind of a little different than just all of the encouraging words that I've had. This one, I feel like it has a little direction behind it, but again, I think that's why I struggle, because I'm not really sure what the direction is, but I think simply what it is it kind of gives us an idea as being like intercessors. What should we be praying for? Who should we be praying for? A little bit more specific than just like praying for our nation, praying for our leaders, praying for friends and family. I feel like this is maybe another prayer point that you could be praying for, and just be on the lookout for, and just be aware of that this is where God's heart is and where He's wanting to move. And I definitely feel like it was a little more personal direction for me, but I don't think it's just for me to keep to myself. I think it's to be able to give you guys a little bit of almost like a heads up as to where God's moving next and what He's wanting to do, and really to be praying and pouring into that so that we are allowing God to move in these areas and inviting Him in to move in these areas. So yeah, I think this is going to look a little different, but I still feel like it's really something that I should be sharing, honestly, because I feel like He's going to do something with it later on, and I want to be able to have this to come back to and say like, hey, look at what God's done, because He's already done it before in my life, and I want to be able to keep that faith and trust and obedience going, that if He gives me something and He's called me to release it, then He has a reason for it, even if I don't fully understand what that is yet. So I did want to just kind of preface it with that I think this is probably going to be more of let's pray over this. And honestly, I pray that He gives you more insight on what this is, because this is not just for me, not just on me. I can't carry the weight of this by myself. I really do think this is for a lot of people, especially His intercessors. So yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and give that to you. But this vision was actually from a few months ago. It was back in July, so it's been a minute. But again, that's kind of why I've been sitting on it, because it really was giving me more direction personally, and then I didn't really know what to do with it after that for a while. But I feel like right now in my life, God is really starting to tie it back in. He's really bringing it back around, and it's starting to make a little bit more sense to me. So that kind of gives me an idea that, okay, this is now the time for it. So in the vision, what I saw was, it was, kind of like a out of body experience, I guess. I don't know how to explain it other than like I saw myself. So I wasn't in my body at the beginning. Like I could see myself, I don't know, however you want to explain it, I guess. And so I looked up above me, and there was like a hand like reaching down towards me. And at first it was one of those things where I did not understand, like, is this the ceiling caving in? Like, where am I that there would be a hand like reaching down to me? And it registered as like Jesus reaching down towards me. And so of course my instinct is to reach up towards Him. And so, as I was grabbing His hand, He was lifting me up. And so it wasn't until I actually was up on this ground above me that I could kind of register where I was and where He had taken me. And He had pulled me up through like a sewer pothole kind of thing, like those big round potholes that you see in the middle of the roads and the sidewalks and things like that. He had like opened the lid of it and then had like pulled me up through it. And so this is kind of where it sets the scene, I guess, where now we're in the streets of some very large city. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I definitely knew like we were in the back alley of a very large city, I guess. It was dirty, it was dingy, it was, kind of like just gross, and, kind of what I guess you picture being in a dark back alley of a large city, overpopulated city kind of thing. And I didn't really know for sure where He was, but He just like wanted me to look around, you know, it's like, you know, just kind of follow suit. Like, I feel like when Jesus takes me in these different visions to these different places, I just kind of follow his lead, and he was really, you know, just showing me it was completely empty. Like, it was vacant. There was no one around us at all, which seemed very different, knowing that like I knew we were in a big city. So I was expecting hustle and bustle and people here and there and lights and cars and all the things, and it was quiet and cold and no one was around us. And so it was really interesting. I didn't really know what to think of it at first, but I was like, okay, you know, like, where are all the people? You know, like, what is happening? And so then you know, when we went back into the pothole, which I'm not entirely sure why, but we went back into the pothole, and this time, oh wait, nope, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we were still in the streets and in the back alleys, I guess, and I had looked down and the pothole had crumbled, so it was like it was no longer accessible. And so it had disappeared. We decided that we were just gonna walk around the streets a little bit, and that's when I had, you know, continued to see like there's no one out. You know, it's almost kind of like a weird feeling where I'm like, we're just here by ourselves. This is like really different. I'm not sure why you're showing me this. And so we just kind of walked around the streets. It wasn't busy. And then I guess after we had kind of like explored the city, I had kind of, I think, almost inside, like internally, I knew like we were in Los Angeles. Like there was like the streets of LA. Didn't really know at the time, never been to LA, so it's like I had no idea. But it's the idea, that's what I was getting, was this place was in Los Angeles. And then we went back into the pothole that was in a different part of the city where we had walked to, and I don't know, it's like a portal. Like, you can't always understand what these visions are, but it kind of felt like a portal. And so we went back into this pothole, we did the whole thing again, and this time, you know, when I came back up on the other side of the pothole, we were no longer in the same city or the same street, which like didn't register as the same city, but we were still, you know, coming up out of this pothole, but in a different city. And so same sort of thing. It was dark out, there was no one around, it felt like we were in the back alley again. Same sort of feeling where it's just like, oh, this feels off. Like, why is there no one here? I don't really know what we're doing, but okay, I'm like, I'm gonna follow you around, Jesus. And so again, he kind of took me on this tour of this city. At the time, I wasn't exactly sure what it was, what the city was, if it was the same city, just a different part of it. I didn't really know. And then like as we were kind of wandering through the streets, I recognized where we were at. Just simply, I've never been to New York, but you know, you can kind of picture, like when you picture New York and downtown and all of the big buildings and kind of like, what is it, Grand Central Station? I don't know, like where all of the billboards are and everything. Clearly, I've never been to New York, so I don't really know. But it registered as like, oh, okay, this is no longer Los Angeles, this is New York. And still don't know why I'm here, and I still don't know why there's no one around. Like, New York, again, I picture everyone out and about. It seemed really strange to me, but whatever, I guess. And so then, you know, we were still wandering through the streets, and this time we like went down into like the subway station, I guess. Not like an actual pothole, but again, still kind of went underground, went into the subway station, and we started to see like a little more people. Like, there actually was a population of people that were there, and they were just kind of, you know, moving around us and whatnot. And so we went down in underground, and it was so weird because like I knew we were waiting for like the subway to stop, or the train, whatever it is, like to come through and stop, and then like I figured we were gonna get on it. That's clearly not what Jesus had in mind. And so like we had stopped, and the train had come up and was like kind of standing in front of us, and then it was like, as we didn't get on the train, and then the train went by, and then all of a sudden Jesus was standing on the other side of like these subway tracks, or like the train tracks. He was on the other side of it, and had, you know, was like on the other side by the brick wall, except there was like a door in the wall, which I don't know if any of this is true. I've never been on a subway, never experienced any of this before. That's why, like, it's just simply, I'm just sharing what I was seeing. And so I kind of, jumped across the tracks, got over where he was at, and was one of those things like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? And he like opens this door on the other side of the train tracks, and it like leads us into like this whole other world. And it kind of felt like a secret door, like no one else really knew it was there. It was like totally put into like the brick wall, but he was able to open it, and we went through the secret door and we walked into this big wide open field, and it was beautiful and green, and it felt very different than clearly where we had been. It didn't feel like a city. It felt like, the countryside, very open, airy, beautiful, natural light. And it honestly kind of felt like, I don't know, heaven, I guess. And it was just so bright and light. Like there was just light everywhere, and it was so beautiful. And so again, so this vision I had on like the 15th of July, and I kind of just ended with like, I'm not really sure what this means, but like I'm gonna copy it down, document it, and pray on it for a little bit longer and see like what comes up. And so that's kind of how I left it with that. Is like, okay, well, I definitely believe like, okay, Jesus took me to these places for a reason. Don't really know why, but I began to kind of pray over them, and had been praying for LA to begin with, and then started kind of praying for New York. Don't really know what I'm praying for, but like, all right, God, you have a heart here for a reason, so have your way, sort of thing. And then of course, in God's way, he shows up in like a week later. I don't know if I was asking him or if he had just kind of brought it back to my memory, but he showed me that exact same vision again, like play by play, same sort of thing that I just described to you, and really confirmed like, yes, the first place was LA, the second place was New York, and so then I finally was like, okay, Lord, I'm listening. Like, speak, your servant is listening. I want to hear what you have to say. What does any of this mean? And this is at least kind of what I feel like he was saying. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. And so he was saying, the streets of LA are ripe for the picking. They are fully saturated, and they are ready for my harvest. For the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. I have strategically placed my workers around the city and all of the surrounding areas, and now I am beginning to call my workers out one by one. The time for the behind the closed door faith is being released. I am releasing my harvest workers that have been diligent to me in their wasteland and in their wilderness season. They have never given up on me, and they were never shut down. For they have stayed vigilant, they have stayed close to me in deep prayer and with deep connection. I have and I am strategically placing them in all of these hot spots all around the world and all of the nations, so that they are ready for when my harvest is at hand. For the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And then I feel like he was kind of asking me these questions. Will you be one of my faithful workers? Will you go where I call you to go? Will you say what I tell you to say? Will you be who I created you to be? Will you help set others free? Will you be daring enough to see others walk in that freedom that you have walked in yourself? Will you be my faithful servant? Oh, so I mean, I just feel like there's so much there to begin with. And so I was just kind of like continuing my conversation with God and asking me like, why are you showing me these two specific cities or areas? Like, I feel like they're very specific. And so I feel like, again, this is kind of what I felt like he was saying was, LA is lost, and they have fallen into the lust and power of the entertainment industry rather than my love and my empowerment. And New York has gone off the trail, leaving me in the dust behind them. Neither one of these cities are living in their true intention that I have created them to be. I want to see my cities thriving in all that they were meant to be. And I feel like, there's a couple different other words that kind of tied into this, definitely about like celebrities and the entertainment industry and, a lot of exposure that God's bringing. But I didn't really know what he's doing, I guess, but I kind of feel like the call here, or the assignment, if you want to call it that, I really feel like it is to be praying faithfully over these cities specifically, or at least these geographical locations. And I really feel like God's heart is for these places, that like he is not done with them, and that he intended for them to be a beautiful creation, and that he had purpose for them from the beginning of time, and that they are not living in that right now, and that he wants to right all of those wrongs. He wants to bring it back into alignment with what he had intended them to be originally when he created our world, when he created the earth. Like, he created all of these places with an intention in mind, and we may not be living in that right now, but it does not mean that we can't get to that place. And so I really feel like these are, you know, the hot spots that God is talking about. Is he wants to pour out his spirit. He wants to come to these places. He wants to meet us in these areas, and he wants to show us who he is. He wants us to experience him in ways that he has maybe never even shown himself before. But I really feel like these areas are very important to him. They're very specific to these plans that he has, or these purposes that he has. And we as his children can really be inviting him into these places. And I applaud you if you live in any of these places, you know, go around your city and invite the Holy Spirit in, you know, pray over the streets, pray over the buildings, you know, literally just be open to wherever God leads you. You know, get in the car and just say, Holy Spirit, lead me, and drive around your city and pray the prayers that he brings up into your heart, and to be bold enough to maybe even go to specific places and lay hands on it and pray for it. Drive around the block and pray for it. Whatever it is, you know, I feel like this is us coming together and inviting God in and saying, this is yours, God. It was yours from the beginning of time, and it is yours now. And we need you here. We want you here. We need what you have to come, you know, like the verse where it's, you know, like, bring heaven to earth sort of situation. I feel like that's what this is. It's like, God, we are calling heaven to earth on these areas. We are bringing your angels to earth. We are calling for you to come and invade our lives, come to invade our streets, come to invade our cities, come and invade our nation, Lord. We need you here. We want you here, and we invite you here. And, you know, just to be very diligent, and God, this is your area. This is your home. This is where we want your revival to come up. We want people to know you and to experience you. And God, we know you love these cities. We know you love these people, and we need you here. We need you here. And we invite you in, because we have that power. We have that authority, and we are calling you down from heaven. And so, yeah, I really just kind of feel like this is, you know, a call to all the intercessors, you know, like, they be praying over these cities, be praying over these areas, be praying for the people that are in these areas, be praying for, you know, God's heart to just invade everything that I pray that he would do what he needs to do. I pray that his will would be done. We don't even have to know what it is, but I pray that his will would be done. And yeah, I guess I just want to come together with all of you guys and invite God in whatever capacity that may look like. And again, I know visions, my visions are for me, and they resonate with me, but I pray that you would ask God to give you your own visions, and to give you your own clarity and your own revelation on where he's calling you to go, where he's telling you to pray for, or, you know, just in general, just to open up that vision, I guess, with him, you know. Give us eyes to see, give us ears to hear. And then I pray that he would give you the boldness to be able to share those things, and the platform to be able to share those things in a way that this is not just kept in us, in our hearts, in our minds, but that it is being shared out into the world, and it gives God more room to work, because he's the only one that can right these wrongs. He's the only one that can bring the revival that we need. And so, yeah, I feel like I can keep going in circles, but really, I invite you in to pray for these cities, pray for these people, pray for the industries, the companies, the organizations that are rooted in these cities. You know, we all kind of have an idea of what we picture when we picture both of these cities, and to, yeah, just to invite God into the middle of that, and to not be, just to not be concerned about it, I guess, but to be bold in it and declaring God's truth over these places, and that, you know, God is not done with them. And I am really excited to see what he wants to do with them and what he does through them and through us and through each of our prayers. So yeah, I just invite you into that. And yeah, I pray that God would give you more personal revelation on what this looks like, and that this just would get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not just on me, it's not just for me, but it's for each and every one of his children who comes to him with a heart wide open and saying, God, use me, work through me, I am yours, I am fully surrendered to you. And I pray that you have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll go ahead and see you again later next time. Bye.